Welcome to chapter 21. This is the first chapter of the second half of the textbook, which is a bit of a structural and thematic break in this resource. There are several reasons for this. One is that our textbook Untitled Mari is based on a Russian language textbook, Marisky Yazykli Vsech, which appeared in 2 volumes in 1990 and 1991. And everything up to chapter 20 was the first volume. Everything after chapter 21 is the second volume. So originally, these were 2 separate books that, of course, that build upon each other. One leads to the other. But another is that there was a large time break between when Timothy Riese and I worked on the first half of this and the second half. So we've just jumped ahead like 8 years in time. So we had different possibilities and limitations and different focal points at this stage. And I suspect that it might be noticeable. Also, these chapters of the textbook that are coming now have not been as extensively proofread as the first 20. I don't want to say that there are no mistakes left in the 20. There are plenty, I'm sure. But we have taught many courses with the first 20 chapters, and students have noticed many mistakes. From now on, these chapters we have taught them increasingly less frequently. Like I've never taught, I think the furthest class I ever got to was chapter 36 or so. I've never taught in a class chapter 37 or so, which probably means there are going to be more mistakes for you to notice. Please write them to me either on the Discord, in the Discord group, or by email or whatever, so that I can fix them for the next release. The rest of the textbook is also going to be structured a bit differently thematically. While up to now we have mostly followed the adventure of the Sapayev myth, the family Sapayev, now there's more of a thematic focus, and the chapters, they come in blocks of 5, and every 5 chapters have a thematic focal area. And the first topic with 5 chapters is going to be just the Mari El and the Maris. So, and the 4 chapters, then before we come, the 5th one is a revision, but the first 4 it's going to be Mari El, Yoshka Ola, the Hill Mari, and then the Eastern Mari. And then other chapters will be like music and culture, stuff like that. But yeah. And also, starting from this chapter, we no longer have audio recordings of the chapter text being read, so we have to read them ourselves. And from this chapter onward, we usually don't write out numbers anymore, so you have to do that yourself. But in exchange, we now have every chapter has a little clip from the Mari Evening News, which we will read together in this course too. Okay, but before we get to any texts, we'll get to the general structure stays the same. We'll always have grammar, notes on the words, then the text, and then the exercises. And we will first get to the grammar. So all the new grammar this week is derivational grammar, but it is productive, important derivational grammar. So these are things that one should also, one should not just recognize, one should be able to actively create these forms. The first thing that we are meeting is a nominal and adjectival derivational suffix lik. Those of you that have worked with Turkic languages will recognize this person, and those of you who have worked with Udmurt will also recognize this, because it has also been borrowed into Udmurt. And the Mari range of functions resembles the Turkic range pretty nicely. And we can distinguish 2.5 primary functions, and we'll get to that half in due time. The first one I want to look at is the formation of abstract nouns, that we, on the basis of an adjective, can form a noun that denotes this abstract quality. And here we have a few stems based on which we can look at this. And wait one moment. So in the exercises, when I do it this time, we can always do the order Valentina, Luan, Reka, Kelvin, Sandra, back to Valentina. And please remember just, sorry. And
Sonia.
And Sonia. Sonia after Sandra. And then after Sonia, back to Valentina. Sorry for missing you there. And so I won't just remember the person who was before you and do the one after that person, so I don't have to call you by name every time. So we'll start with Valentina, and the challenge now is to both form the derived form and to guess what it might mean.
Okay, so we have Boyan, rich, Boyanlik, I guess wealth.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Then Tasa and Tasalik, and it means help.
Exactly.
Ustalik, so skilled and probably skill or skilledness.
Yeah, craftsmanship, however we want to say it.
Okay, so Pashadima, unemployed, Pashadimlik. Pashadimlik. So unemployment.
Very good. And this, by the way, is a very common combination. This dume plus look, it's something lessness. So yeah. Yeah.
Then you do hear me, right?
Yep.
He's on you. Pater and paterlik, I guess. Paterlik. Just power.
Yeah, like strength.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so, and as I mentioned, this is very productive, this function. This is one that we should in a pinch be able to utilize ourselves. Okay, that takes us now to the second basic function where we can identify two subpoints, and that is that we, on the basis of a noun, or sometimes also a numeral or a pronoun or an adverb, it's more limited in that case, coming from these, that we create a purposive adjective that is like an adjective denoting for what something is good. And we'll have a few usage examples here. Yeah, so let's continue with korno.
Kornolak, and it's like for the path, for the way, for a trip. Okay.
Yeah.
Then we have bilet, biletlik, so ticket, for a ticket.
Yeah.
For the ticket.
Yeah. There's some confusion about the order. Who's before Reka? Luan is before Reka. So it is Luan, Reka, Kelvin. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Wait, was it my turn now?
I think so.
Okay.
You're after. I think you're after Valentina, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So it's shudo and shudelik, and it means for hay or.
Yeah. Like without context, these are somewhat tricky to translate. Yeah.
So emlik, something from medicine. Could you say something like emlik shuda?
Yeah, that it sounds plausible to me. I should note here that like this is, even though this is productive, I wouldn't say that it's exceedingly common in this usage. It's like something that you, in theory, you can do this with any noun, but I don't see it happening all the time, and this is not something I actively do much, I'll have to admit. Okay.
All right. Kumat 3. Kumat look 4-3 or perhaps in a group of 3.
It's more like 4-3, sufficient for 3. This could be like for a workload. If there's like a project or so, and that's a project that's that is a good amount of work for 3 people, we could say it is like kumatlik pasha. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have Ella tomorrow. Elalik. For tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so here we have a few usage examples. I'm not actually going to make you guess all of these, what it will be, but just how you can use these. Like oksa, money is a good thing to combine with this. What is the purpose for money? What have you earmarked the money for? Like kornalik oksa would be money for a trip. One moment. Could also work as a table for 2, a table for 3. I guess so. I'd have to check in the corpus if I can actually find this in the wild, but it strikes me as plausible, like a kumetlik ustel or so in a restaurant or so. Yeah, like so biletlik oksa would be money for a ticket. Kumetlik pasha, it's like I mentioned a work that that is sufficient for 3. Or for shudelik olek, a hay meadow, it's like a meadow that where the purpose for this meadow is to grow hay for the animals. And you could say it's a shudelik olek. Or if you have an emlik kushkul, a medicinal plant, a plant which is there to make medicine. Quick note about
Sorry, Jeremy, question. What is the difference between shudo and what was the word on the kushkel?
Shudo is grass or hay, and kushkel is plant in general.
In general, okay.
In general, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I mentioned also pronouns. One thing, there's a little hitch one has to pay attention to if one wants to attach look to a pronominal stem. Here one does it to the genitive forms, that it's like not mylik but myinlik, and not tuylik but tuyinlik, memnanlik, tendanlik, etc. So it's always based on the genitive form. And this one does account if you found that something is like, this is not for me. This, like, you're watching some movie and you notice that it just doesn't jive with you, doesn't suit you. You could say, tida million like ogle. This is not for me. So that one actually, that one does encounter. Okay, but now we come to the sort of the 2.5, the second and a half meaning. And that is that often these purposive adjectives like for, through conversions become nouns, and they denote things that are used for a specific purpose. And a lot of these things are then Turkic loan translations that you will recognize these things. And this is now something that you don't have to consider productive. This is not something that you on your own decide that you have, an object that you use for something that you just used then the look form as a noun. But there are some very commonly used look nouns that are derived following this logic that are worth knowing. And some of them we have even seen and used, but have not necessarily realized what they are. And yeah, here, I think, again, I'm not going to make people guess, but so if we have shincha, the eye, we can have a shinchalik, something for the eye, something used for the eyes, glasses. This is a Turkic loan translation, that it's like in the Turkic languages, it's also kuslek or something similar to that everywhere. So the for the eyes thing. So we have shanga, a mosquito, a shangalik, something for the mosquitoes, a mosquito net. So you see, this is so specific that one wouldn't guess it. So this is not something one should consider productive. It remains untransparent if we have ava, the mother, avalik is the womb. Yeah. And so for ner, which is not only nose, but also, yeah, Gebärmutter. That's, yeah, with, for avalik, that would be the German translation. Yeah. So ner, it's not only nose, but also snout of an animal. So a nerlik, something for the snout. In this case, it's a muzzle, like something you put over a dog's face to keep it from biting people. Yeah. So, and we've also encountered things like we've encountered sherlik for the shelf, which is like milk, the for milk, the thing where you put the milk. Yeah. Okay, I've nothing much more to say on this topic. Just these are some specific nouns that one should know. That takes us to the second point, unless there are any questions at this point. And the second grammatical point is, again, another derivational suffix, but now it is a verbal derivational suffix we attach to verbal stems to create new verbs. And it is a causative and transitivizing suffix. So it is to make something or something, someone or something do something. And we can distinguish these two rough in the like the range of functions, we have like true causative to make somebody do something, but then also just more straightforward transitivization. But the important thing that in all cases, we increase the valency of a verb by 1. We increase one additional party to the mix here. So here, I can't remember whose turn it was, so maybe we can start with Valentina again. And it's again, form the verb and guess what it means.
Yeah, so we have urgash urgem to sue. So I guess it would be urgaktash. And that would be urgektash, yeah, because of the, and it would be to have something soon. So I think the example there was with a fur.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To have someone, or sometimes it is more to make somebody do something. Sometimes it is also to let somebody do something, but here making works better. Yeah, okay.
So then we have ishtash and ishtiktash to make somebody do something, or
yeah, to have somebody do something, to make somebody do something. Yeah.
Okay, kudashash, to take off, remove. Kudashiktash, to have someone remove something.
Yeah.
All right, shonash, to think. Shonaktash, to have someone think, make someone think, maybe stimulate someone's brain.
Yeah, to get somebody to think.
And then yuash, to drink. And I think we already had that in the text at some point.
Yes, we did, when Anush was sick.
Yuktash, to make someone drink.
Yeah, so the regular form would be yuktash, but since this is a very common one, it has been simplified here to yuktash. The got lost. Yeah.
Onchash, to see, and then the derived verb would be onchaktash, so to make someone see, and then actually to show.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Then we have shochash, shochiktash, to be born and to give birth.
Exactly.
And then sholash, to melt, and sholiktash, to melt something.
Exactly. Okay, so a few notes still just on the usage of the suffix and its syntax in particular. So I've been throwing around the term valency. So valency or valence, you encounter both. I never know which one to use. Is basically how many arguments does a verb have slots inherently. So if we have like a verb onchash here, we could say that the sort of the prototypical valence of onchash to see is 2, because we have the subject, the person that sees something, and the object, the thing that is seen. But we don't have any like other inherent slots in this verb. And now we have encountered already, this is now the second fully productive derivational suffix in the domain of valence changing operations that we have met. We had also already met this alt a few weeks ago, where we said that alt reduces the valency by 1, where we could have then a form onchaltash, which is then just to be seen. And here, this has lost the object slot, so there's only room for one slot here. And onchiktash, we've also already seen as to show, and this has the valency of 3, because you have the subject, the thing that you show, and the person to whom you show it. You have 3 slots. It is now, however, also possible, this alt, which we already had. Oh, okay, wait, first I should say something else. So in Russian grammars of Mari, the suffixes that we look at here, they are often denoted not as derivational suffixes, but as voices, in the same way that active passive is a voice. And the alt is indicated as the marker of the reflexive voice, and the KT is seen as a marker of the causative voice in Russian publications. And okay, I mean, this is an inherently difficult question what one considers derivational and what one considers inflectional in a language. And oftentimes it is simply arbitrary, and the discussion is, at the end of the day, not as interesting as it is sometimes treated as, because like our class, the categories that we have, like derivational morphology and inflectional morphology, these are not supposed to be clear-cut groups where something either belongs or not. These are supposed to be just like abstractions that make us an easier that make it easier to deal with domains. And if we have bordering domains like inflectional morphology and derivational morphology, it's not unusual for things to be on the meeting point between these two. Be this as it may, one problem that there is with the classification of these as voices rather than as derivational suffixes is that voice usually is a grammatical category that a verb can only have one. You can be active or you can be passive, but you can't be both usually. But a verb in Mari can be both causative and reflexive then, because this on-chik-tash form that we have, we can attach this alt to it again and have the valency reduced by 1 and have a word on-chik-tal-tash, which again has the valency of 2. So we're where we started when it comes to the valency, but it doesn't mean the same thing, of course. On-chik-tal-tash means to be shown, like something, like the play was shown to an audience or something like that. So it's not the same like as C. But so this whole matter that we can go back and forth, that we can have that we can combine these suffixes. This is more points towards the derivational classification. Another thing there is, it's rarely, but one can encounter recursive applications of this derivational suffix. For example, if we have a verb irash, this irash irem, this is an intransitive verb meaning to become warm. This could be like, for example, you have a flask of water over fire and it is becoming warm. Then I would say vut ira, the water is getting warm. And now I can attach the kt suffix to a stem to create a verb with a valence, with a transitive verb with the valency 2, which is to warm something transitively. Like, I am warming the water. I take the flask, I put it on the fire. Mui würden erektem, for example. I'm making it warm. But now we could, in theory, have another causative derivation on top of this, and that would be like, I'm giving my brother a flask for him to put it on the water. I am making my brother warm the water. And then we would have the verb erektiktash. And this is like, it is rare, but it is completely plausible. We find it in the corpus, not very often. And I mean, theoretically, it would then be possible to do more of these. Like, I got him to make her to make her, blah, 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 blah. Like whole chains of causations with the KT. But if you were to try to do that, the Mari speakers would think that you're being a little bit silly, because nobody has the time or will to count the KT suffixes in a word and figure out who exactly was the person, like what the chain of causation was. So this is like theoretically boundless combinations of derivational suffixes that in practice probably wouldn't work, but are still fun to play with. Okay. Quick note on the syntax of KT derived words. This is something where you will encounter some variation, especially within dialects, but also within the literary language. So if we have an intransitive verb like yuash, and we just have, sorry, not an intransitive verb, a non-causative verb, and we want to say the child drinks tea, we would have yocha chaya yuesh. So nominative subject, accusative object, so far so good. And if I say I give the child to drink, but I'm not saying what I give the child to drink, then what one usually would say, mi yocham yuktem. that the child to whom I give this something to drink is in the accusative conventionally. If I'm saying that I'm giving tea to drink, but I'm not saying whom I am giving tea, I'm just leaving this out in the open, I would usually say my chayam yuktem, tea in the accusative. So here in these two sentences, we actually have the accusative marking two completely different things. In one form, it is the so-called causee, the person who is being made to do something. And here we have the object simply, the thing, the object of the caused action. What if we indicate both? Like I give the child tea to drink, I make the child drink tea. Then the conventional way of doing this would be my yochalan chayem yuktem. So then in this case, you generally have the causee marked with the dative, because in standard language, like a prescriptive rule is that you can only have one accusative object in a sentence. But this is a prescriptive rule. You find counterexamples. In the corpus, you do find constructions like mi yocham chayem yuktem. I make the child drink tea. It's just that like Mari native language teachers might tell you that, no, that's wrong. You're not allowed to say that. But this is something that like the reference grammars will tell you that it's not allowed to say mi yocham chayem yuktem. And this is the usual principle that you have in language textbooks. It's like if you're going for a walk, if you're walking through the forest and you see a sign that says, please don't wrestle with the bears, you can be pretty sure that at some point in history, somebody has wrestled with bears here, or there would be no need for this sign. And it is the same with prescriptive rules in language textbooks. If there is a need for prescriptive rules not to do X, Y, Z, odds are that native speakers have done this. Yeah. And then you also will find sometimes my yochalan yuktem, like I'm making the child, like to the child, I make the drink or so. So just be prepared for some variation here. Yeah, but there are some verbs like shochuktash, where we have like to give birth, that are just completely like re-lexicalized as independent verbs that are no longer perceived as causative derivations. And if you say like, I gave birth to one son, you would never under any conditions encounter or so. It has to be the accusative here. Okay, that's it for the causative derivation. Are there any questions at this point? Okay, then we can get to the words and word usage. One moment. Where we'll also have some points that could have been in the grammar section.
I guess I do sort of have a question, actually, if that's
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah. Sure.
A very quick one, and that is, am I right in assuming that you always have a reduced vowel there if you need one?
In like with the K, before the KT, yes.
Yes.
That basically you can say that if the phonotactics necessitated you have a reduced vowel. That let's go back to the overview. That basically, okay, I didn't discuss this systematically, I'm sorry. That after in the first conjugation, you basically always have a reduced vowel, regardless of if it is a consonant or a vowel at the end. Like if we have shochash, it's not in shochktash. And I think phonotactics make that pretty clear. That like Mari doesn't like three consonants in a cluster anyway. But even here, if we have like yuash, we originally would have had yuktash, but in this very commonly used word, in this one case, there the went missing. But otherwise, it's fairly productive. That I mean, it's fairly systematic. That in the first conjugation, you have a linking vowel after the stem before the suffix. Yeah. Anything else? Okay, then let's get to the few points of word and word usage that we have. Okay, so we are in this half of the textbook going to increasingly look at, so we know the spectral auxiliary constructions or converb constructions at this point. And in this half of the textbook, we're going to look at individual auxiliaries and what functions they carry in pairings. so that we can eventually reach a stage where we can idiomatically translate at least some of the occurrences. And in this chapter, we are meeting four new auxiliaries. And in this case, all four of them lend themselves to a schematic illustration of what they indicate. So if we have here on our x-axis the flow of time, and on the y-axis the intensity of some action. We have tolash to come, which is used as it's a sort of an incremental verb. It means the incremental increase of an intensity of something. You are doing something at an increasing intensity, steadily, with a steady upward trend. Then we have shogash, to stand, which is another imperfective one, which indicates that that something is happening steadily over a long period of time. And it's like in most of these cases, with a bit of imagination, one can see the circumstances of the temporal structuring of the original verb that is used as an auxiliary in this. Because like standing, this is how standing works. You are in one place and nothing is changing. Whereas coming, if you have like the coming of clouds or so, you have a gradual increase of something that is, yeah. And then we have got kodash, kodam and kodash kodem, to stay and to leave something. Like this is the same, the ones that have the same relationship, like in Finnish yada and yatta, like staying behind or making something stay behind. These are they are the same as regards the Aktionsart that they communicate, and that is that something is done perfectively and it leaves a tangible result for afterwards, just like when you leave something behind where you go. The difference between these two is that kodash, the intransitive kodash, kodam, is only coupled with intransitive verbs, and the transitive kodash kodem is only coupled with transitive verbs. As regards the Aktionsart or aspectuality, whatever we want to call it, they are equivalent. And here we have a few examples of their usage that we can have a quick look at. So this is from the text. Gegenat, nevertheless, in spite of this, Mari kundem and chapshe, the honor or like the fame of the Mari land, igaj ish, from year to year, charlen tolesh, it spreading came, so it spread, but like gradually, increasingly over time. Also from the text, kurim gej kurimish, Mari kalek, so from century to century. Here we see how often the Pochtaljonka construction is used, where you had the Pochtaljonka going pertgich pertish, sutgich sutish, yalgich yalish, from village to village. It's like also with temporal units, they like to do it. Kurumgich kurimish, from century to century. Mari kalek, the Mari people. And here we have two verbs connected with Tolen. Viangash, which is like to develop and to grow stronger, and pengedemash, which is like to grow sturdier, more resilient. So the people, they are like gradually growing stronger and more resilient. Yeah. Or if we say kochgeschlan ak kuzen tolesh, the price of food, literally the price to food, is climbing rise. So it's gradually increasing, is what you're saying here. Apashada Tigayak Kodesh, but the salary is staying the same. Okay, hits a bit close to home in Russia in particular. Yeah, so shogash, this is like steady, imperfective, but steady. So if we have Chudera, Respubliken Pel Mlandijem, so the forest of the Republic, half the land, Nalan Shuga, it takes up, but it's like take not in the sense of like, there, took your land, it belongs to me now, but take it up in the sense of like it to have in your hand, to possess, kind of. Ivan Peshtische student. Ivan is a very assiduous student, we could say, hardworking. Ertak iktashmom tunem shoga. He is always studying. He is always like he's always studying something. He's studying standing. So like here we're indicating the steadiness of Ivan's constant studying. He doesn't waste his time on whatever. Or here, Kongressland, Okladem, Kum, Kumsho tilse pochela yamdalen shogem. I've been preparing my lecture for the Congress, but then preparing for 3 months, preparing as yamdalen shogem. I've been preparing standing. So here, like in this case, you can even like indicate that the sense of despair at lacking movement in some action that you're carrying out. It feels static to a depressing extent in this case. Oh yeah, and finally the pair of two, like the kodash kodems pair, we have kredalmash dechvara, after the battle, shagalan, few people, an instructive form, ilen kodanet, stayed alive, basically survive. So living, stay, that's what it is, like surviving. Budilnik dechposna ertak malen kodam, I always oversleep without an alarm clock. So you're like, actually the examples we see here, they don't fully match my graphic that I just had. Here it is just the thing that is the thing that is stressed is that the result remains tangible after the end. But here is a ikana muyam yongelish shkolesh peteren kodenet. So once I, yongelish is like mistake, but it can also be an adverb by accident. Shkolesh, into the school. Peteren kodenet, I was locked into the school. So I was locked and left in the school. Yeah, and Mari Kalek Shke Yulashim Aralen Koden, the Mari people preserving, kept their own customs, so they like, or they like nurturing or taking care of kept, so they preserved it. They kept it till today. The stress thing is always that the thing stayed in, be it sleeping or living or preserved or locked up in school. Okay, any questions about the auxiliary constructions? Yeah, there.
Yeah, my question would be, I'm not sure if I just didn't catch it earlier. So how would you summarize the function of the kodash and kodash constructions?
Okay, I would summarize that it is that they are used to indicate that an action had a to indicate that the result of an action maintained afterwards, that it stayed in place afterwards, that we have a tangible results that stays in place after the end of the action. That yeah, that you like here after this, that you like you stayed alive, you continued living, you kept on sleeping. So here this would be like continuative, you keep on doing something, but here you have like being locked and left in the school.
So one is a bit more imperfective than the other?
No. As regards the difference between these two, there is no difference with Aktionsart or aspect side. The only difference between these two is that kodash kodam, to stay, is coupled with intransitive verbs, and kodash kodem, to leave something, is coupled with transitive verbs. So you have ilash, to live, intransitive, malash, to sleep, intransitive. But here we have peterash, to close, the transitive verb, and aralash, to keep something, also transitive. Does that help?
I totally understand the intransitive ones. That seems straightforward, but with the leave, to leave something. Yeah, maybe I just need to see more examples.
Yeah, it's like to leave in the sense of leaving something behind, like zurücklassen in German. So not to like to leave a city, to leave on a jet plane. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I will just get it if I see it more often.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these one has to get used to them encountering them repeatedly in text helps. The transitive one look a bit more resultative to me just because of there is a concrete object. Yeah, it does help with the resultative reading to have a concrete object. Yeah, and I mean, this is I mean, this is an inherent problem with these spectral constructions. Like, how much do we want to read the original lexical meaning into it? Because especially with the kodash kodam ones, it would be possible to stay to keep on living, to keep on sleeping or so. This is the thing that Klaus Schönig would always call this das Durchschlagen der Vollverbbedeutung, sort of the original meaning of the verb breaking through. Yeah.
Some of them are similar to Finnish, like the first one, jäädä eloon.
Yeah. You can make those connections too. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, we just have to get used to these. The second point that I have are synonyms, my favorite. So nele and yősӧ are two words with very similar meaning. It's both difficult, and both of them can also be used as nouns: difficulties, hardships, something like that. And if they can both be used here just for nele pasha, yősӧ pasha, for difficult work, a difficult matter, difficult times in this meaning. And if there probably are some fine semantic nuances of these, setting them apart, but I've not been able to identify them. But there is one difference that there is between the two that we can look on the basis of the corpus, is that if we compare nele and yősӧ, the collocations of these adjectives with paget, time, pasha, work or matter, and chemodan, suitcase, we'll see. So nele paget, yősӧ paget, both work. Nele is more, I mean, nele is way more common as in general. The baseline frequency of this word is much higher. But nele paget, yősӧ paget, both of them work. Nele pasha, yősӧ pasha also work. And I was hoping that the collocations would give me some indicators of like what, like any differences I can find in the exact semantics, but they really don't help. They're both used with the same words in the sense of difficult. But nele also has the sense of heavy, and yősӧ doesn't have this. So you can have a nele chemodan, a heavy suitcase, but you cannot have a yősӧ chemodan. So that's just so nele has a bit broader of a usage. Okay, ваштареш, against. Oh, sorry, there's a question or a comment. Yeah, schwer, schwierig. German might help you there. That you can have a schwere Frage and you can have a schwere Koffer, but you can have a schwierige Frage, but you cannot have a schwieriger Koffer. Or it would mean like maybe theoretically a suitcase that makes your life difficult because it's so hard to open it or whatnot, or it's moody and sometimes it works on you and sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. Then this, now I'm also wondering, like, collocations with people, if one would have like nele ideme, yősӧ ideme, but I haven't looked at this. Okay, the next point, ваштареш. Ваштареш, theoretically, this could be the lative form of ваштар, the maple tree, into the maple tree, but that is not what it usually is. This is a postposition and adverb meaning against. The maple tree thing is just a distraction and something that you have to be prepared for if you're working with the analysis tool, because it's going to suggest that a lot. So ваштареш, it is like against is the simplest translation I come up with, but it has numerous facets of meaning that are somewhat adjacent to one another. And the first one that we have here is on the opposite side, face to face, vis-a-vis, across, something going in that, yes, basta, not wachtara, though theoretically it would be like wachtaran or so, something like that, but that's not what it is. The wachtara and ваштар, those are cognate forms. But yeah, so I would guess that vasta and ваштареш are too. Okay, in any case, the first meaning that we have is, so yeah, if we had like a street and we have a house on one hand, on the one side of a road, and the tree on the other, if you say it's opposite on the other side, then ваштареш works. Like nemna pertna ваштареш, lombo kushkesh. Across, like from our house across the street, a birch cherry tree is growing. Or who is standing opposite of you, like the German dir gegenüber would work. So this is one meaning we forgot. Then we have opposite in or against in the sense of opposite direction. Like there's a wind coming one way and you're going against the wind. So it's like mardesh, ваштареш, against the wind, kayash to go, йӧсӧ, difficult. It's difficult to walk against the wind, to go against the wind. Yeah, then this is this works in German. It doesn't work so well in English. It can also be like towards a date on the eve of or so, like ui ваштареш, literally against the new year. What's meant is like towards the new year, and that is then New Year's Eve. We are expecting something unexpected. Yeah. Jut ваштареш kushkayet, towards nightfall, like against the night when night is coming. Yeah. And then finally, it can also be against in just an abstract sense, like against a virus, against a political faction, against fascism, whatever one wants to stand against. And one thing that is then, yeah, we have this here in tüङalаш ваштареш, like Mari kalaklan. ktᴵᴵ the more people had to fight. Against whom did they have to fight? tüङalаш ваштареш, against their enemies. But this is something, this here more lines up with Russian. What is important is that you also use ваштареш against for medicines. That if you have like medicine, like flu medicine, you have, it is medicine against Russian. This is something that Russian speakers often find humorous when people learn Russian as a foreign language and they get this wrong. And like speakers of German will say this, that they will talk about medicine for, like medicine for the flu. Then Russian speakers will say, oh, you want medicine that helps the flu, huh? That makes the flu extra supercharged and helps it overpower you. Because in Russian, you say medicine against flu. And in Mari, it works after you're following the same pattern. Like ваштареш M is medicine against flu. Okay, that's it for ваштареш, I believe. The next point is a little idiosyncratic point in Mari that one has to learn in Mari. And that is, so нине, these, the plural form of tide, this. There's something happening here which one would not necessarily expect. And let's illustrate this on the basis of some kitty cats. So if we have one cat, we would say ik pyrrhus. And if we have many cats, we would say shukopyrrhus, or we could also say nilpyrrhus for there being 4 cats. But if we say there's this cat, we say tidepyrrhus, and we want to say these cats. Based by everything we know in Mari, one might be tempted to say ninepyrrhus, but that's not correct. It's ninepyrrhus flak. After nine, one does have to have a plural marking flak. Can't explain why. This is just something we have to accept. That here is one place where we do have like double marking of plurality, congruence, whatever we want to call it. Okay, point 5. Vese, this is a distinction, this is a distinction that we already know from other words. And that is that ves, the short form we use as adjective, as an attributive adjective, standing before nouns like vesculem, the other room. But if we use vese on its own, it's nominal. So it would be like vese vlak, the others or so. And yeah, this is the same distinction we had with like cum, cummet, and also minjare, or so, that we often have the short form, or also with the color terms, we have the same thing, like yoshkar, yoshkarge, that we have separate forms depending on if something is modifying a noun that comes after it, or if it's standing on its own. There was one particular thing with vese I wanted to point out that is not in the textbook, and that is the frequency of this iktische vesesche, the one, the other. And this is a very common usage of a phenomenon which we have discussed in connection with the possessive suffix third person singular. The possessive suffix third person singular, this was like if we have something that is a part of a salient group of something, like a part of it. And if you have one and the other, 2 people or things or so, and that are being treated in a discourse as a unit of one part of some sort. And this is the same in all languages of the Volga Kama region, by the way. You overwhelmingly will have possessive suffixes on both of them. The one with the possessive suffix, the other with the possessive suffix. So iktische, vesesche, this is something just to mentally prepare to encounter this quite a bit. Yeah, so this point here, this is something fairly trivial and straightforward, but it is still worth noting. Starting with this chapter, we're going to listen to some clips from the news. And in these clips from the news, we will often hear the people in the studio, the professional journalists talking, and then there will be interviews with mere mortals, with people who do not have the job of sitting in front of a TV camera and speaking Mari pretty. So, and you will notice some very systematic differences in the language as it is used by the journalist whose job it is to speak pretty and adhere to some kind of abstract norm, and the common people for whom this is not the job. And one thing you will immediately notice is that the people who are not like professional journalists or professional authors or activists or anything like that, they do a lot more code mixing, and they use a lot more Russian conjunctions and particles and whatnot. So you will then encounter we'll hear it in this chapter's little text. We will already hear how the interviewed guy, who's without a doubt a competent Mari native speaker, will just be mixing and putting in Russian conjunctions like e and particles like vot and whatnot. So we should not be shocked by this. We should prepare for them. We should also realize that the texts we have been dealing with so far have mostly been sanitized, that they're textbook texts. They don't, and nowhere in the world do textbook texts really resemble how people actually speak in everyday life. Okay. And was there a 0.7? Yes, there was a 0.7. Few notes on the word tüҥalаш, to begin, to start. So tüҥalаш is all the different kinds of beginning that we might know and love from various languages. It can be just intransitive, to start, to begin. Like if I say pognamáš tüҥalen, the meeting started. And it can also be, sorry, my categorization is a bit mixed up. It can also be transitive, starting something, like we started today the deliberations with an accusative object. So it can be intransitive, it can be transitive, both work. It can also be used in combination with an infinitive. Like I can say, juraš tüҥalen, the rain started to rain. Pašam ištaš tüҥalena, we started to do work. So yeah, and like there are like other languages of the region you might have learned will have complicated distinctions that you might learn, and depending if it is to start intransitive or transitive or in combination with a verb. So Mari has no such distinctions. Here I wanted to show as a separate thing that you can use it in combination with accusative forms, and I missed that I already had an accusative form up here. But yeah, so we can have like Murisovlak repetitium tüҥaliec, the singer started their rehearsal, descended started them from the corpus, or mong tüngalat, what are you starting? So accusative object is no problem. But there is an additional meaning that we are, or additional function that we are meeting now, which is that that tüҥalаш can also be used as an auxiliary for the future tense. Like if we say Mari murovlak jongash tüngalet, literally it is Mari songs will begin to be like jongash is like to be heard, erklingen in German. Like Mari songs will start to ring out. But what the guy who's saying this means is that they will be heard. Or here this could be if a woman could say, your cham shochmeke, after my child is born, tuden dene, with him or them. Marla kutarash tüngalam, I will start speaking Mari with the child. But what is meant here is I will speak Mari. So this is a fairly freshly grammaticalized auxiliary for the future. I mean, this is a very common process that to begin becomes a future marker. This has also happened in the Mordvin languages, for example, where it is even more productive than it is in Mari. But there is a restriction that, so you shouldn't now always start using tüngalas whenever you want to refer to future circumstances, because I'm going to give you now two examples where you would never use tüngalas as a future auxiliary. And these are again taken from the corpus, so these are organic examples. One of them is my tudem pushtam. I'm going to kill him, her, them. If you are saying this, if you're declaring like you're really pissed off and you say, I'm going to kill him, you would never use tüngalash here, because pushtash is to kill, is it's a perfective verb denoting a punctual action. And usually when you, like a punctual action, when you say mitudam pushtam, it's the interpretation that you're currently in the process of murdering someone is not very likely. It sounds like just a declaration of intent for the future. And in these cases, you don't need it, basically. And this is related to something you can observe in the Slavic languages, for example. So in Slavic languages, where you have this a clean distinction between what are the English words? Unvollendet and vollendet, sovershene, ne sovershene, sovershene, like completed, income.
Yeah, it's completed and incompleted.
Completed
in Czech, it's dokonaví, it's completed, and nedokonaví, which is like imperfect if incompleted.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it works exactly like this in Czech, but in Russian, for example, the incompleted verbs have 3 tenses. There's past, there's present, and there's future. But the completed ones only have 2 tenses. You have the past tense and you have the future tense, because if you're using the morphological present tense for a completed verb, it is automatically read as a reference to the future. Because why couldn't it be understood as a reference to the now? Well, if you were doing the thing right now, it would by default be incompleted. And so it is like doing something right now in the moment is not compatible with a completed verb. Does it work like that roughly in Czech?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And so this is the same. This is sort of the same in Mari too. And I mean, we sort of have this in German too. For example, like in German, you would also say like ich bringe ihn um if you're really pissed at somebody, and use the present tense, and everybody's understood. Everybody understands that it is a declaration of future intent. Yeah. Or also if you say erla me yalish kayana, tomorrow we are going to the countryside or so. If we have a reference to erla, like when we are going to do something, we don't need tüngalash really. Well, firstly, this yalish kayash, it's again perfective, an action that happens once, and you don't really use tüngalash with that. But secondly, just with erla, by having the time frame already mentioned, this makes the tüngalash superfluous. It is generally used only in combination with imperfective verbs when the future reading of it is not salient for other reasons, like an adverb declaring when something is going to happen. So this is also, it's something, it's more important that one be able to recognize this reading in, and it's less important that one actually uses this, because usually one does just fine by using the morphological present tense in reference to future circumstances. Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot that there's point 8. Are there any questions up to this point? Okay, the last point, I have nothing else to comment, but they're just a few pictures of some animals, a mixture of pictures I took myself and pictures where I found open source pictures on the internet. And I took the very important information. My own pictures are: the dog is my own picture, the cat is my own picture, the cow is my own picture, and the sheep is my own picture. This was actually in northern Germany, in the Wadden Sea. There was a sheep grazing out on grassland as the tide was coming in, and then suddenly it found itself caught on an island, and it hopped through the sea to get on land. It was very cute. None of these are my own pictures, I think. And the hedgehog and the squirrel are my pictures too. One thing I'm noticing now is that there are no goats. Sorry for the kazademeluk, the goatlessness.
I can provide a lot of photos if you were in need of.
Yeah, I'll have to see if I can manage it with the format, but I think there should be goats. Yeah. But the word for goat, kazad, this is in a Slavic loan, so it's a fairly easy one to learn. Okay, that takes us to the text. Are there any questions about anything we have done so far? Okay, so with the text, as I mentioned, we don't have audio recordings anymore, so you all have to read the text for yourself, and we are no longer writing out the numbers. I had a student once in Vienna who would just read out the numbers in German and then read in the rest in Mari. So she would say things like "Kumdeksho 23.200 Quadratkilometer." I don't know why I let her get away with it, but I'm not letting anyone here get away with that. If the numbers are difficult, we can do a practice session at some point to make sure that the numbers are there. So so this chapter has a lot of so this chapter has a lot of new vocabulary in it. I can help out with the vocabulary if it is ever necessary. And yeah, so I still have the list of everybody yeah. Okay. We can read the text, and the people who said that they were uncertain if they can manage, maybe we can try, and if you can't, and then we can see if you feel like with a few words from you can manage it, and if not, just say skip and we'll jump to the next person. And let's okay, I'll do the title, Mari Kundem. So this is like the Mari district, but also the Mari land. Kundem, unless I'm mistaken, it's cognate with Finnish kunta and Estonian kond and the such. It often is used more in an abstract sense. So it's like if we say Mari Kundem, it's less of a reference of the Mari, our republic, but more of a reference to the lands where the Mari live, including areas where they are a minority in Bashkortostan or whatnot. So the lands of the Mari, I guess I would translate it. And then we can start with the text itself with Valentina.
All right, so I'll read first. Kartish onchimo godim Mari Republik Južo Jinglan Shincha Kijat Okperne. And I think this means that while or when looking at the map, the Republic of Mariel may not catch many people's attention or may not strike the eye.
That's exactly correct. Yep.
So then tudo Julen Pokshel Yongstisho Verlanen Kugorak Ushashisha Julen Shola Serastisha Ulesh Kumniksho Kolo Kumdische Kokshude Quadratkilometer.
Very brave and good. Yeah.
So it is located, or wait, no, this is.
Yeah, so
is this a converb or is this
no, it's past tense. You got it right. Yeah, so verlanash, it's like to take up location somewhere basically, but if you use it in the past tense, it just means something is located.
Okay.
Yeah,
so it is located in the middle stream or whatever of the Volga.
Yeah.
On the bigger part is on the left shore of the Volga.
Very good.
What was Kumdik is
area.
Also something like an area, and the area has 23,200 square kilometers.
Yep, that was perfect. Few notes. So here we see ulesh, the usage of a copula in the third person singular, which we haven't seen that much of, but I mentioned at the time that it is often especially used in definitions, like when it is like when you want to make very clear that you are defining something and you're being very exact, then in such cases sometimes ulesh is used, but it has a very technical feel to it. That's the one thing, and 23,200 square kilometers. In a Central European context, I often liken this to Slovenia, that it's roughly the size of Slovenia, or so Macedonia is also some, North Macedonia is somewhere in the same category too. Okay, let's continue.
Okay. Mari kalik akrit gotsek shke kugeza Finno-Ugrim landestila. So from time immemorial, the Mari people have been living in their own ancestral Finno-Ugric lands, something like that.
Yep, here we are kind of laying it on a bit thick, that this is like a sort of national romanticism that is very widespread among the Maris, that they basically think they live in the Urheimat, they live where the Finno-Ugrians originally came from. It is true that speakers of Uralic languages have lived in contemporary Mari El for a long time. They just weren't Maris. So the archaeological evidence indicates that the Maris used to live further towards the southwest of where they live now, sort of in present-day Chuvashia and around that area. And what today is Mari El, they were mostly speakers of Permic languages speaking, living here. And we have a lot of toponymy so it's like a lot of toponymy in Mari El is Permic, and a lot of toponymy then in Chuvashia is Mari, because we had the historically sort of a chain movement that Permic speakers move further to the northeast, Mari speakers move further to the northeast, and the Turks move further up northwards. Yeah, and there's sort of like, I think we've discussed it in the previous class, there's sort of like a bit of this romanticism among Finno-Ugric communities in Russia of like, all our people, we were always living in peace and harmony before the Russians came and ruined everything, or even the Turks came and ruined everything. But the archaeological evidence actually suggests that the Mari, the proto-Maris and the proto-Permians were not necessarily living in peace and harmony, that they were constantly vying for the same resources, the same lands and the such. Okay, enough of that detour. I can't remember who came after Reka. Was it Kevin?
It was me, and I think I might be willing to try if you point out where to start.
Yeah, okay, so Mari Shamachim here.
Okay, Mari Shamachim en ondak merens lumdene kucho
Kudumsho. What you said was correct, Hilmari, but in Metamari it's Kudumsho.
Kudumsho, Kuramishta got historic Jordan Palemden. So the Maris are known, or were known.
Or like were Palemden, it's like to indicate, to mention or so.
Oh, the Mari. So the Mari. Oh, so the Maris are in the accusative. I should have noticed that.
Yes, exactly.
So the historian Jordan noticed the Maris with the name Merens in the 6th century.
Yep.
And Ein Ondak is. It's a superlative, but I don't know what ondak means.
Earlier, so the most earlier, the first.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and it's less noticing, but like so it's like he left the first written record. So the Maris were first mentioned under the name Merens in the 6th century by the Gothic historian Jordan. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got the Goth confused with Godum.
Yeah. It's it is a homonymy in some cases. Yeah. Okay. Then I can't remember who was after Kevin.
It is me.
Okay.
Varage vese vlak Mari vlaklam chermis lumem poenet. After that, others gave the Maris the name Chermis.
Very good.
If I'm not mistaken, it's my turn.
I think so, yeah.
Mare vlaken ilosh Корнажо куштолголеен огыл, шукое сажемат, нележемат ужаш. Тушман ваштареш тӱҥалаш верештын. So the path of life of the Mari or the life of the Mari wasn't easy. There were a lot of difficulties, and actually it's I think there were a lot of problems and difficulties, like if I were to say the same thing again. And ujash, like there were seen, there were visible, or there appeared.
Like they had to, it's still connected into this verechten.
Okay.
So
they had to face something.
They had to face, that's a good translation,
and fight against their enemies.
Exactly. And I think that brings us back to Valentina.
Yeah, that's correct. So tugeginat kurimgich kurimish marikalik viang da ping gidem tolin shke ilmijim tuvirajim yulajim aralen koden. So for this reason, century.
Not for this reason, in spite of this.
Okay, in spite of this, century after century, the Mari nation became more like stronger and more resilient, and maintained or preserved its own language, culture, and customs.
Very good. Okay. Then Luan.
Tushem in der Schule konem scho eerste marikalikske after nomischem nalen tushem in der Schule komlo kodem scho eerste Mari Republik gestalten. So in in 1920 the Mari people how do you say this, got their own autonomy.
Exactly like that, I'd say.
Okay. And in the year 1936 the Mari Republic was founded.
Established, something like that. Very good.
Okay. Am I lagging or do you hear me?
No, I can hear you.
Okay, then fine. Tunam Tudo, Mari Avtonom Soviet Socialist Republic, Ema SSR, Lumim Numalash Tüngalın. So after that, it started to be called the Mari Autonomous Soviet Socialist Republic.
Yeah. So literally, it's like then it started to carry the name of MASSR. Okay, then Kevin, if you dare.
I'll try, I'll dare.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess that Soviet Ushem is the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And that Shalana Meke is after it fell apart.
Exactly.
So after the Soviet Union broke up, the
but wait, before you translate it, read the whole sentence, please.
Oh, okay, sorry. Soviet Ushem Shalana Meke Shkejapestem Maser Mari Avtonom Soviet Socialist Republik Semen Manal Che Kundem
yeah, that sucks when it happens. I can do it. Tujem in deshude in deshle kokumsho.
In deshle kokumsho. Okay. Tujen is the one I forgot.
Yeah. And I think there's a she missing here actually in the text.
Okay, Tujen in deshudo in deshlo kokshe ieste Mari el Republik Lumam Nalan. So after the breakup of the Soviet Union, the MASSR, the in its own time calls MASSR.
Yeah.
In the year 1992, took the name Marielle Republic.
Very good. Yeah. So the artist formerly known as MASSR. Like the Shke is like in its own time. Like that means back then. The same phrase works in German with Seinerzeit. MASSR, same as MASSR. Manalche, this is an interesting one that it's so manash to say or to call something from that the reflexive passive derivation, manaltash, to be called, and then an active participle on that. So and then condemn the land. So the land that was called as MASSR. Yeah. The Soviet USA, yeah. Massive. Yeah.
MSSR, the MASSR heißen.
Yeah. Okay, then it's Sandra's turn, and I can do the numbers if they are too daunting.
I will try.
Okay.
Kisses Marielle işte kutşuda kandaş tüjen.
Very good.
Kutşuda kandaş kut yeng ila kok tüjen lat Nederlandsche eerste.
Very good.
Nun kokla get
Cockshooter.
No. Yeah. I can count. Cockshooter in Dashle tussen Kandash Shude Kutlo Mari.
Very good.
Today or now, which was 2014, 688,686 people live in Marielle, out of which 290,863 Maris.
Yeah. So Christian is asking something that I have to look up before I can say for sure if then the Moldovan ASSR was synonymous with the Mari ASSR. But I mean, wasn't the Moldovan, wasn't it just an MSSR without the A? But I'd have to look this up. I don't want to. But what I can say is that, like, in other cases, the Mari institutions have had to have. Yeah, I'll look at this later about this phenomenon, if there was a if they were synonymous. But just touching upon this, the Mari State University, which is the Marijski, in Russian, the Marijski Государственный университет, this would naturally have the abbreviation MGU, but that abbreviation is taken by Moscow. So that's why it's in MarGU to prevent that. And I'm wondering now if similar strategies were used to distinguish it from Moldova, but I have to look. Yeah, but after Sandra, I think it was Sonia's turn. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
Mari
right.
Kalikin.
Mari, yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's right. Mari Kalikin kogo ужаше nele kandash tuchmashat nele luamsho %. Quite lucky with this sentence. Marielle Republik touch the sto ila. So a big part of the Mari people, it's like 48.4%, lives outside of the Republic Marielle.
Yep, that's it.
Then Mari Kalikin kudlo procentše vutla daviče enger vlak koklaște verlana, Mariel da Kirov den Ugarman oblast vlakin Mariel dek tuknisho rajon laštist, kolo nare procenše oš viče da upo enger voktene, da нине enger vlak koklaște ila poškirt da Sverdlovsk kundemlaște. Okay, so 60% of the Mari people live in the area between the is it like the Vetluga and the Vyatka rivers, and yeah, I don't get this one. So they are basically listing the regions where, or the cities where they live.
More the regions than the cities. Yeah.
Right. So we have Mariel, the Kirov region. This is, I think, Nizhny Novgorod. If I'm mistaken, Ugarman. Okay. So the I just don't understand this. Tuknisho rayon Lashtist. So, in the regions, right? In these regions.
You have to. It's in these regions, but the Tüknische, it goes together with what's before it is this blah 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 Oblasten Mari El Dek Tüknische blah blah blah. So Mari El Dek to Mari El, and Tüknische is
so towards Mariel.
Touching, bordering.
They are bordering, of course. Exactly. Of course, they are bordering with. So we have the bordering regions with Mariel Republic, is Kirov region, and indeed the Nizhny Novgorod region, and then about 20% live next to the some other river. This is Bielaya, and I can't remember this. Upa.
Okay, Upa, definitely. It's also the city of Ufa.
Ufa, yes.
Is there also an Ufa river? That would make sense. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so.
And then in these like in the region of these rivers, so in Bashkortostan and in the Sverdlovsk region.
Okay, so just a few geographical notes. Something that makes life a bit difficult in Russia in general is, so a lot of cities and districts and whatnot got new names during the communist days. So Yekaterinburg, for example, became Sverdlovsk, Nizhny Novgorod became Gorky, and St. Petersburg became Leningrad and the such. But then when the names went back after the fall of the Soviet Union, often the accompanying districts or whatnot kept the communist era names. So you still have the Sverdlovsk district, even though the city is called Yekaterinburg again. That was one thing. And about Ugarman for Nizhny Novgorod, I mean, this is a loan translation of the Russian, because Novgorod, so new city, and new, and Karman is like a fortress. So it's like the new fortress. And that's, I mean, it's for once a fairly, I mean, like usually some towns called Novgorod or new city or something is often not that new. I mean, I'm just thinking of Naples, Neapolis, one of the oldest cities in the world is called that. But like from the Mari's perspective, I mean, Nizhny Novgorod was basically built after the Russian expansion towards the east as an administrative center over which the conquered lands, from which the conquered lands would be administered. So that's then what made then Novgorod, like what made it sort of the new town. And it's called Nizhny Novgorod in Russian to distinguish it from Veliki Novgorod, the older Novgorod, the medieval one that had its own republic back in the day. And so Nizhny Novgorod was in Russian and actually renamed to Gorky during Soviet days. But in colloquial speech today, most people just call it Nizhny, that the Novgorod part, people drop it off. And you'll encounter this then also in the radio interview, where somebody just talks about Nizhny, meaning Nizhny Novgorod. Okay, then I think it was Luan's turn.
Yes, so Isiraktischka dene Marie Vlak Tatastanishte Odo Perm Chelyabinsk Kundem Lashte da Molo Veriat Elat. So the smaller group of the Maris live in Tatarstan, Udmurtia, Perm, Chelyabinsk, in the region of Chelyabinsk and other places.
And also other places, yeah. Chelyabinsk, some of you might know as the place where there was this meteorite strike a few years ago, that was caught on a lot of dashboard cameras. Then it was in the news all over the world for a while. Okay. So that brings us to the last page.
Yeah. So Mari kunde motor ve şilişte verilen the Mari region or lands is situated in a beautiful area.
That is correct, and it's also true. Then Sandra, I think, or no, Kelvin. Sorry.
Buda Chodralan Boyan. It is, I want to say, covered in forest.
Like literally, it's rich in forests, but covered in forest is accurate. Yes. And I mean, this is like something I only really realized how much this is true when I once took a plane to Yoshkar-Ola. That like you see these maps of Yoshkar-Ola and you see these little towns all spread over and areas where there are not so many towns. Well, because there are no towns there, it's just bears and trees. And like if you fly to Yoshkar-Ola, you really notice how there's as far as the eye can reach in all directions, it's just forest. Okay, but now actually, Sandra, I think.
Ja, Todera Respubliken pel Mlandejem Nalenshugar. Wait, Nalenshugar was take up, right?
Exactly.
The forest takes up half of the land in like in the Republic.
Yeah.
Amerikalıkın ilaşıcı ojnacık çadıra dene kalandıldan çadıra tudum aralın bukşın yıktın çıktın da ırıktın. So the life of the Maris was connected with the forest since the very beginning, like since immemorial. Yeah. And to the forest like protected them, like to them, like the nation, gave them food, provided them with food and water, with clothes and with warmth.
Exactly. Very nice. Okay, then Valentina. I can't hear you, Valentina, if you're saying something.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Where did it
I didn't hear anything from what you said. So
I see. Okay, sorry. So I'll read it from the beginning. Okay. Mari kundemişte, I think Vichudo, Utlainger, Yol elnet izi kakshan kugu kakshan, da kokshudo nare Yalchik tayir kicher moshil ulo. So in the Maryland, there are 500 different rivers.
Oh, more than 500.
More than 500, okay. So the Volga, the Ilat, the small, I think a small Kokshaga is called.
Yes.
And the big Kokshaga River, and around 200 lakes. So the Jalchik, the Tair, the Kichir Lake, and Mushel.
Yeah, the Mushel, yeah. Okay, quick note. So Yul for the Volga, this is a Turkic borrowing, and it's just the Turkic word for path or something like that. Yeah, Elnet, we have net Easy Kakshan, Kugu Kakshan. The Easy Kakshan in particular is an important river to know because that's the one that flows through Yoshkaola. So if you've been to Yoshkaola and walked around the promenade or even swum in the river, you have walked along or swum in the little Kakshan. And that's also what the old name of Yoshkaola went back to the river, because it was Tsarevo Kokshaisk, and first during the imperial days, and then Krasno-Kokshaisk in the early Soviet Union. Early Soviet days. So this sk, just a Russian format for place names, this Kokshaisk, going back to Kokshaga. Something that irritates me personally is, so when I hear little Kokshaga and big Kokshaga, I would assume that they flow into each other, but they don't. They don't meet each other at all. They both flow independently into the Volga. Yeah. Yeah, that's the one you see from the Mari radio window. That's it. Yeah, I think it was Luan's turn.
Yes, Mari kundem igich motorestes példaltes viszlana year after year the land of the Maris grows in beauty, blossoms, and stands in beauty.
Yes, yeah, these are these kind of formulations that you hear a lot of. And a new thing we learned what we can do with the pillet stem. Okay, then Reka, I think.
Okay, which one is it? Sorry.
The last one. Mari
Kalik ske kondemje dene kugeshna. Kugeshna, I forgot what it was.
To be proud.
Okay, so the Mari people are proud of their country or region.
Yep. Okay, very good. Then we have two Kalak Muts, proverbs. Let's see if we can manage them. And the first one goes to Sandra, I think.
Wait,
oh, no, Kelvin. Sorry, I keep getting the order mixed up.
So one's native land is sherge to everyone.
Yeah, dear, valuable, like literally it's expensive, but here it is mean like dear to the heart or so. Yeah.
And then we have Jotmlandem, it laverte. I don't know the verb actually.
Lavertash is like to besmirch, to befoul, to get dirty, to, and also like just to trash talk, basically. Yeah.
So do not trash talk. Okay, Jot. Yeah, Jota, I forgot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, foreign. So.
Do not trash talk foreign countries.
Yeah, like, or other countries, something going in that direction. Okay, very good. So,
actually, sorry, Jeremy, I have a question related to this, like being proud of one's native country or one's region.
Yeah.
Is this something that is typical of the Mari people, or is it typical of all Finno-Ugric nations living in this area? Or
I would say that this is generally a Russian thing in general, okay. That there is like a certain kind of pathos, like also when people from Russia in general speak about their homeland, which can be almost alienating for people from other cultural backgrounds. Like there's like, I just remember, I remember some anecdotes that I'll tell after I've stopped the recording, maybe. Yeah. And it is also a minority thing, yeah, in general. Okay, are there any questions pertaining to the text still? Okay, so then we'll continue next time around with the radio text, and I'm going to stop the recording. Moment. Okay, we're continuing with chapter 21, and it's time for some exercises. And there are fewer exercises in the second half of the textbook on average, I think, so we can try to do more of them. But yeah, let's see. So first one, answer the following questions about the text Mari kundem. Since it's been a week since we read the text, for the people that are here live, for the people watching the recording later, it's been a few seconds. But we'll scroll up to the text to answer the questions when we come to them. And I'll start with Sonia. Sonia, Mari kalak kunam shke after nomijem nalan. Yeah, you can either answer on your own or tell me if I should scroll up to answer it. And then also please translate the question and the answer afterwards. I can't hear you, Sonia.
Sorry. When did the Mari people get their autonomy? Mari kalak shke autonomijm no. Tussen
Tujem
in the shle
in der Schüde.
In the Schüde, and I'm just wondering, was it 20 something? Yeah. Tujem in the Schüde kolosho ishte.
Yeah. Kolem sho
ishte nalan.
Very good. So second one goes to Valentina. Whoops, what did I do? I pushed the wrong button and I copied the text in a whole another time. And that was also wrong. One moment. Okay, Valentina. Mari Republik kunam gestalten.
Okay, so I actually wrote it, so you don't need to go back to the text.
Yeah.
So it was tujem in the shudo kumlo kud ishte.
Kudem sho ishte.
Kudem sho ishte.
Very good. Yeah, so this is nice practice for the numbers. Good. Kelvin. Mari elste menjar yeng ila.
Mari elste menjar yeng ila. How many people live in Mariel? Mari elste, I'm going to go to the text in the other window and then read off the number. Kudam shudo.
Kud shudo.
Kum shudo.
Wait. No, it's was it kud or kum shudo? I think it must be
kud. Sorry.
Yeah.
Kud shudo kandashla.
Kandashle.
Kandash tujen.
Very good.
Kud shuda kandashle kud. Yeng ila.
Kandashle kud.
Slowly working on getting the moksha tyojan out of my.
Yeah, it's tricky. And also the tujem, we know, I mean, these are, there's known that the higher numerals are borrowed, and we know other forms of the same numerals borrowed with both shuda and tujem. Yeah. Okay, but thanks, Kelvin. Sandra, nunen koklagic menjarige Mari ulet. And this is a beautiful case of the third person possessive suffix, third person singular, as a part of a whole.
Okay. Nunen koklagic menjarige Mari ulet. How many of them, I would say, are ethnic Maris? I also have it open in another tab, so
very good.
And that would be, oh boy, kok shudo indeshle tujem.
Very good.
Kandash shudo kumlo. No, kutlo.
Yeah.
Kutlo kum.
Yeah, either kumit or kudlo kum mari or so. Yeah, very good. Okay, Reka, you're spared the numbers. Mari, Respubliken tüng pojanlikshe mo.
So, what is the fundamental word or richness of the Mari Republic? Mari Republiken tüng pojanlikshe chodera.
Chodera, very good.
Tuncher.
Chodera. Yeah. And also, I would say it's not a textbook, but mui, honey. Also, but that's especially like the Eastern Mari in Bashkortostan. They're very famous for the honey that they make. Which, I mean, aren't the Bashkirs also known among the Turkic people to be the honey makers? So that's a regional thing, I would guess. Okay, and then Luan, Mari kundemeste minjar enger da yer ulo.
Mari kundemeste Vichude utla enger da kokshude nare yer ulo.
Da kokshude nare yer ulo. Very good. Okay, so now we are going to practice the abstract nouns formed with look, and we have a bunch of adjectives here. And the person who gets a sentence, this is very nice that we have 6 people doing exercises, and there always are 6 exercises. Yeah, we'll everybody gets one, should find the right adjective, and they should form an abstract noun, put it in the sentence, and translate it. And we'll start with Sonia. I can't hear you.
So I'm just checking the words. Motor, usta, yucha, taza, poro, poyan. I would say tazaluk, ilash polsha, but I have no idea in this case.
Let me see.
Istalik, I don't know.
Basically, they all help
or
you.
Or Boyanlik, maybe. It's like help to live.
This would be the most honest answer, but they're looking for something more sentimental. They're looking for goodness helps in life.
Poroluk.
Yeah, probably Motorluk too, but Poroluk is what they're going for.
Okay, I checked almost all of them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And they would all, a lot of them would be more honest in this one, but yeah. Okay, Valentina.
Okay, so Chodera, Mari, Kundemin, and I have Poyanlikje.
Poyanlikje, very good.
So the forests are the wealth, or represents the wealth of the Mari land.
Yep, exactly. And then Kelvin.
Oh, direct toonliktischen something moktish. Could you remind me what moktish means?
Praise.
Okay. I am unsure.
Okay, wait, let me get rid of the ones that we've already had. Of course, in some, or I just underlined them. Of course, once again, so many things would be plausible, like the director praised the health of the teacher. So, but it's what they're going for is that the director is praising how skillful the teacher is.
Okay. And that means I need to remember which of those things meant skill.
Yeah, it's, unless I'm completely mistaken, a Turkic loan. And I know it also because I've seen it literally on kebab stands. that there's like a skillful kebab maker with this stem.
Oh, is that usta?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Direkte toenigtussen ustalik moktish. Ustalikum moktish.
Yeah, or with a possessive suffix still.
Ustalikajum moktish.
Ustalikshim.
Moktish.
Very good. Okay.
So much for my voicing assimilation.
Yeah, it's a nice thought, but unfortunately not a correct one. Okay, so then that's Sandra next.
Okay, we have arale, which is the imperative of aralash, to protect, to defend. And are they going for the cringe?
They're not going for the maximally cringy one. They're not asking you to stay beautiful. They're asking you to take care of your health. So.
Oh, okay, good. That would have been the other option.
But they want it now with possessive suffix second person singular. So your health.
Singular. Tazaliket.
And I'm still missing something. Aralash, to take care of, to preserve, is transitive. So. Exactly. Very good. So take care of your health. Yep. Then Reka gets the last one where there is a decision to be made, but it's not a very difficult one, I think.
Yeah. Revision. Choyalikshim. Shuko yumakiste ontiktimo. So the cunningness of the foxes are shown in many days.
Yep, exactly. And then, okay, Luan, the next one, it's not going to stay 6, so you're not always going to have the last one, but this time you still do.
So it's turin motorlik show kashne yenglan shin chashpena.
Yeah. So a sort of translation, maybe.
Oh yeah. So their beauty like. What was this in English again? Strikes the eye or something?
Yeah, strikes everybody's eye or something like that. So, yeah, they are going for some pathos on occasion. Okay, translate into Mari, where things are staying somewhat challenging, but let's see if we can manage it. And we start with Sonia.
Okay.
And I can help with individual words.
Okay. Sportolat. And I think like to build, they would probably use like to do something, and there will be this altash, and
this would be like. It's a bit tricky. Like I would have expected that too, that you could say something like sportpolat chongalten, like a new sport palace was built, but they're actually going for the impersonal construction with the third person plural.
Yeah, okay. So sport polamen школа ваштареш.
No, it would, if you want to do the active form but third singular, it would be istenet. But I would have accepted your variant too. So I mean, this is why we at some point later, like when we were working on the exercise grammar, we didn't have translate into Mari exercises, because it's then always so difficult to know, was that correct or not. Yeah, but just for this one, I'm going to copy in the answers from the key afterwards. But I was fine with your version.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, then Valentina.
Okay, so it's hard to walk against the wind. So that was one of the examples. So that was Mardesh, Ваштареш, ктᴵᴵ, йӧсӧ.
Very good. And one moment, it is copied in. Just to make sure you can't see what I'm doing in the Word document now. Can you? No, okay, good. So the screen sharing is working as it should. That it's only showing the
it's only showing window.
Yeah. Okay, then Kelvin.
Don't leave when it's getting dark. Jud ваштареш eat leg.
That sounds good to me. And it's what they have is ваштареш κτᴵᴵ eat tārvane, which would be like to start moving to get on the road or so. But Kelvin's version is closer to what I would have said if I had been asked. Okay, Sandra.
Okay, many nations had to fight against enemies. Shukukalik. Tüșman ваштареш. I do not remember fighting.
Ktᴵᴵ.
ktᴵᴵ,
yeah.
Shukukalik, Tüșman ваштареш, ktᴵᴵ, külenet?
You could say either külen or ktᴵᴵ but I think külen is easier, but you are missing one thing. How do you grammatically mark the person who has to do something?
Shukukalik lan.
Exactly, and then the rest was perfect. Tüșman ваштареш, ktᴵᴵ, külen. Okay, great. And then Reka gets the last one.
Okay, so why do you always talk back? That's a good one.
Yes.
Well then, isn't it? Ваштареш oylet.
Yep, that's very good. Okay, great. So now we come to number 4, translation in the other direction, and we start with Luan.
So nachher kann das Iaschen das tüngelinam. I started going hunting at the age of 8.
Yep, very good. And here we can see this is a nice one actually. This iaschen, that it's iash, yeared, this adjective or derivation from the year, but then we have this instructive in that we have seen at like in so many different situations, like also with collective numerals, but here attached to an adjective meaning age, and that's in just an adverbial form at the age of so and so. Okay, then Sonja.
Шонет Мари калык умбакыжат Мари йолам аралаш тӱҥалаш. It's like think.
Yeah, like do you think?
Do you think Mari people start to preserve their customs? And I'm wondering what umbakıжат. It's like umbakıжат.
Umbake would be like onward, forward, and with this additive
so it's like as well.
Also forward, also into the future.
Okay.
Yeah. This was a very good literal translation, but I would not actually translate it quite this literally. Does anybody have any alternative suggestions?
There is this, you told us last time, there will be like a future tense, like will they preserve their Mari customs?
That's exactly it. Very good. Okay, so then Valentina.
Okay, so Mari radioshke pasajim tüҥалаш. So I guess in this case it's so the same story. So the Mari or a Mari radio starts or will start operating.
Yeah, it's starting.
Or I'm not sure exactly what it means. It's operate or to
Here, I would actually do a literal reading. It's starting its own work. And I would do that because it is used transitively here. So we have an object with pasajim. It's beginning. What is it beginning? It's the Mari radio is beginning its own work. Yeah. Okay, then Kelvin.
Vaske sonar pagetungalesh. Soon the hunting time will start, or the time of the hunt will start.
Yeah, hunting season or whatever we want to call it. Yep, very good. And Sandra?
Your son will be proud of you.
Very good. So here I again would go for a future reading. So as is often the case with recently grammaticalized words that are used in both a lexical sense and a grammatical sense, it can sometimes be difficult to know which one is which, but usually from context, we can figure it out. Okay. Oh boy, particles. These are fun. And Reka gets the first one. We should get the first particle, you should find one that fits in here. And again, I think there might be some cases where more than one would be plausible, but yeah. So let's see.
Okay, so Mari kundemişte vichide ale kuchide enger ulo. Yeah, nada isn't there, so
yeah.
Ochni.
Yeah.
Vichide.
Yep, very good.
So about 500.
Yeah, or like.
So how yeah, are there in Mari region 500 or 600 rivers? Is it that? And so about 500.
Yeah, no, Ochini is more like. Let me find how exactly we translate it. One moment. Probably, most likely. So like. It's sort of similar like German wohl or so. Like, I mean, these particles, they're always there. It's like every time I struggle translating these from Mari into another language, I think of how much I struggle translating German particles into English and vice versa. Like those of you that know German, how do you translate doch into English or ja or den or something like that? These things are so language specific and so difficult without context to translate. But yeah, let's see what we can still manage. So next up is Luan.
Tendan choderada boyan manet tige mo. So the answer is, I guess, mutat uke choderana pesh boyan. I think I get what it means, but I don't know how to translate it.
Yeah. So if you want, I can do the translation.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, is your, it is said like, or your forest is called rich. Is that so? And mutaruke literally, and like, there's not even a word, which means of course, like, of course, our forest is very rich. Right, then Sonia gets number 3.
Нарикалклан шукоясым мелум читаш, датум тушман ваштареш кредалаш верештин. Something илыш корныжо куштылго лийын огыл. So like the Mari people had to fight against their enemies. It's like I'm starting from the beginning, and against many problems and difficulties.
Yeah, they had to endure many problems.
And they had to endure many difficulties and problems. So before I try to enter the right phrase, I think like the path of their life was not easy or light.
Yeah.
And ikmanash, I would say, like in one word.
Yeah, like to sum it up. Yeah. Yeah, so now Valentina gets the no challenge. Well, in principle, no challenge to find the right word, but you still have to translate it.
Okay, so Maricho diraște turlo Janlik ila, Motlan pire maska rivish da molat. So several or different wild animals live in the Mari forests. For example, the wolf, the bear, the fox, and I guess others, or other animals.
And also others, yeah. Great. So that takes us to exercise 6. We keep just translation now, and Kelvin is up first.
Nice, easy one. Buden ilische yӧсӧ. So his or her life is very hard.
Yep. Then Sandra.
Metri yӧсӧ ilishim ilen. Dimitri lived a difficult life.
Yeah, I'm detecting a theme here. Reka?
Teodanen peshnere numalash polsho. So my suitcase is very heavy.
Yeah.
Help me carry it.
Yep. Then Luan?
En jøsø sängen lekna shonem. I think we have overcome the most difficult something.
Yep. That's it. Very good. And then Sonia for the last one.
Melam nelem numalash ogishli. I have forgotten what numalash is, like to cover,
to carry.
To carry.
Yeah.
So I cannot. It's not possible for me to carry like the difficulties.
No, this is now just a case of conversion, which Mari does rather liberally, that if you have an adjective nele, something heavy, you can also just say something heavy.
Like the weight or something heavy. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not allowed to carry anything heavy, basically. It's like if you have back problems and your doctors say you're not allowed to carry heavy things. Okay, so the next one is the pocztalionka exercise, where we're talking about from to phrases, if you remember the song, Yal get jalish, etc. And we just have to find the right one to put in everywhere. We start with Valentina.
Okay, so pocztalion serishim da gazetim pert gech pertish numalesh. So the letter carrier brings or delivers letters and newspapers door to door or from house to house.
Exactly. Great. Then Kelvin.
All right. Bengedem is presenting a problem.
Okay, like pengede as an adjective is like hard or the such, and pengedemash is a verb derived from it to become hard, to be hardened, to become like fortified, stronger, etc. And this pengedem, it's the short form of the converb, where the long form would be pengedemen, but you can also have it shortened to pengedem.
Okay, so probably ish. So
this is plausible, but if we're talking about like the life cycle of a nation, they're looking more for a bigger time scale, unless I'm completely mistaken. Yeah.
So
exactly.
So like from age to age,
century to century.
Century to century, the Mari people have gotten stronger and more powerful.
Yeah. Stronger and harder, however we want to translate it poetically. Then Sandra gets the next one.
Okay. Orno urgezo jalgecialish kosten da burgemen urgen. In earlier times, a tailor yeah, would go from went from village to village and made clothes.
Exactly. Great. Then Reka.
Tudo shukovere pashamishta. The pashagach pashash kurstalash. So he worked at a lot of places and ran from one work to another.
Yep.
What does it actually mean? Does it mean that he was working at the same time at different places or sequentially after each other?
I think it's the person works at many places simultaneously and is like running from, and I would have understood like because pasha, it's not just like work as in a job, but also like matter. So it's often translated like into Russian as dela. So he's running from matter to matter is basically how I would understand it. Like maybe it's a school inspector who's responsible for a number of schools or something like that. Okay, somehow Luan always ends up with the no challenge one, but
Olana our city grows in beauty from year to year.
Very good. Okay, so now we want to compare Mari El with some of its neighbors. One moment. And yeah, so we've got Kumdik, the area, Kalakchot, the number of people, and Rüdola, the capital. So just here you see for Kazan, we've got a known Mari form of Ozang. And for Cheboksary, there are actually two forms that are used in Mari. There's Cheboksar, which is from the Russian form, but Maris also sometimes use Shupashkar based on the Chuvash name for the city. Okay, let's see. Can we all manage to ask the question and answer it in Mari? And we are going to start with Sonia.
What is the capital of Mari El? Mari Ellen Ridola.
It was okay, but there.
Or is it also possible, like, to ask? What is the capital in Mari El? Would it be better or?
No, better is to say the capital of Mari El. But the only thing is that Mari, at least generally, doesn't have what in English is called WH movement. That the question words jump to the beginning of the word.
Mari Ellen mo Mari Ellen mo Ridola.
No, better is to say Mari Ellen Rüdolage mo.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
No, Yoshkarola Mari Ellen Rüdolage.
Yeah, or Mari Ellen Rüdolage Yoshkarola. Yeah. Okay, Valentina.
Okay. How many people live in Chuvashia? So I would say Minyar Ying. Chuvash Respublikiste Ilat. Or Ila.
Ila.
Because, yeah, 1.2 million. So could it be Ik million Kokshudo Tujem?
Here too, like in the textbook in the key, they have the word order a bit different. They say Chuvash Respublikiste Menjar Yeng Ila.
It would make more sense.
Yeah, but the versions he produced, it's not like it never happens in Mari, like WH movement. And it's I wouldn't say that it's wrong, just maybe not as typical as it is in more Western languages. Okay, then Kevin gets a bit of a challenging one.
Okay, so Tatarstan Mari El Gich Gogo Rak Mo.
This was very good Hill Mari.
Okay.
Where Hill Mari likes to use Gich from out of Meadow Mari uses the, let's call it the outer counterpart, like from, where you in Finnish would use like the Finnish the counterpart to the Finnish ablative.
Okay. Oh, what was that?
Dech.
Okay. So Tatarstan, Mari Eldech, Kogorakmo.
Kugurak. Kogo is again
Kogorakmo.
Hilmari, but yeah. Kugurakmo. Yeah, that's right. And how would you say yes?
Ulo.
No, tuge.
Tuge. Okay.
Ulo, you only use ulo when you say that something exists, when it's really existential. Like I'd ask you, if I want to ask you, is there milk? Then I would say, sure. I'd ask, sure, ulomo, and you could say ulo if there is milk or so. But you could say tuge, or like, I mean, that's the basic way to say it. The other two versions for yes that you find in textbooks are anye, but that's sort of very dialectal, and I've never heard Medomari speakers use it. I've just heard Hilmar users speak it, and da, the Russian form. Yeah. Okay, but so Kevin did something which is actually, this is like a systematic difference between Medomari and Hilmari, that there are a whole lot of cases where in Medomari we have grammatical usage of dech, like in the comparison now, where Hilmari uses gich from, or the Hilmari counterpart, like out of. We also have it in these compound postpositions like dech or dechvara after, that we also there use gits in Hilmari.
Jeremy, sorry to interrupt you. I have a question related to the relationship of Hilmari and Medomari. Like, so I suppose they understand each other, but how do they treat each other? Like,
okay, this is a good and difficult, a good question that's difficult to answer. I mean, in 2 chapters, we are going to look at Hilmari. Okay. That's the topic of the chapter. In briefest terms, though, I would say that it's like, it's not comparable to like the Mordvins, because like in the Mordvins, the Erzi and the Moksha, they do not conceive of one another as members of the same nation or so. There's just no unified sense of belonging, or like same could be said about the Tatars and the Bashkirs, who have very close languages, but do not understand themselves as one community. Or like also, I mean, in further to the west, you have the same phenomenon with the Serbs and the Croats and the Bosnians, of course. But so both the Hilmaris and the Medomaris conceive of themselves as members of one nation. They all consider themselves Maris. But there isn't the question of the status of Hilmari as a language or as a dialect. And this is, as per usual, it's a language that actually linguists should stay away from, because it is not, the distinction between a language and a dialect is a purely political one. There's nothing linguistic about it. But as regards mutual intelligibility, it's a bit of an unusual situation that the Medomaris understand the Hilmaris better than vice versa. And the reason for this is that Hilmari has more Russian loanwords, where Medomari has more Turkic, especially Kipchak Turkic loanwords. And while speakers of Medomari speak Russian and can thus figure out all these weird words that the Hilmaris speak, speakers of Hilmari don't speak any Tatar or Bashkir, so they can't figure out all these Kipchak Turkic loanwords that you have. So mutual intelligibility is somewhat limited from that respect. And so it takes a bit of learning for Hilmaris to be able to speak and understand Medomari without complications. A lot of Hilmaris have done this, but a more natural situation would be that if you are like a Hilmari speaker and you're meeting a Medomari for the first time, more natural would be for people to speak Russian, because that is an uncomplicated shared form of communication. So like about the relationship between the peoples, it's like there is a bit of a cultural divide in that the Hilmaris are overwhelmingly Orthodox Christians, and they have and the Hilmaris in the Russo-Kazan wars of the 16th century, the Hilmaris fought with the Russians while the Medomaris fought with the Tatars. And there are still sort of like some stereotypes going in both directions, based on this historical period, which seems a bit absurd and surprising, but it's there. That the Medomaris still say, or talk about the Hilmaris as like, oh, they're the Muscovite lapdogs who immediately ran to Ivan the Terrible back in the day and pledged their loyalties. And the Hilmaris will say of the Medomaris that, oh, they're basically just a bunch of glorified Turks over there. So they're like these stereotypes, but it's not like really, it does not reach a level of hatred in general, I would say. But there are some like very serious inner divides. As for the whole question about if it's a language or a dialect, this is against like, I really want to stress that linguists should not touch upon this question. And it's very difficult for me because when I am in Mari El, people want the foreign linguist's opinion to either foster, to support their point that Medo-Mari that Hill Mari is a language or that it is a dialect. But a huge factor in this, in my opinion, is that the Maris have a Russian, like the typical Russian standard language ideology, that when in regards to a language, there is one right way to speak it. And if you don't speak it like the standard, you are dumb and inferior, etc. And you have this as pertains to Russian too, very strongly, that Russian dialectal variety is quite stigmatized. And I mean, so then you have the factor that the Medo-Mari literary norm is based on the varieties of Marco and Chernua, or Russian Marki and Chernua, in the northeastern part of the Mari El Republic. And you have like Mari speakers say like, oh, if you really want to learn good Mari, you should go and hang out with my grandmother in Chernua because she speaks really pure Mari. And it's like, well, she happens to speak the variety that the literary norm is based on. That doesn't really make her Mari any less or more pure, is like my thinking as a linguist, but that's not the way that Medo-Mari see it, because she speaks the good Mari. And if you have this background, then the linguistic separatism that the Hill Maris have going, that they very adamantly want to be understood as speakers of an own language, makes a lot of sense. Because if you speak a variety that differs greatly from the standard, of course, you would rather be perceived as competent speakers of an own language than as incompetent speakers of some other language. So it's like if the Maris had a language understanding closer to, let's say, the Finnish model of language, where literary Finnish is very clearly a conlang, that nobody actually speaks this and it doesn't belong to anyone. It's sort of like this Frankenstein monster that everybody deals with so that they can communicate across this country. But like, okay, maybe in Jyväskylä, so people will on average speak like that, but like in very new places, but generally like it's understood to be not one particular variety of Finnish. If the Maris had that kind of understanding of language variation, then I think the whole question wouldn't be that urgent if Hill Mari is a language or a dialect. But since there is a standard language thinking, it is considered important, and understandably so, for the Hill Maris that they be understood as speakers of a known language. Okay, I actually said that I was going to deal with this in chapter 23, and now I went on a big
Thank you anyway.
But I hope it was interesting and relevant. Okay, so it was Sandra's turn for the last question here. Which republic is the largest?
Okay, Kudo Republic in Kugo? Ulo?
Okay, not Ulo, because Ulo is just existential, like there is. If you're asking like which one is, you don't need the Ulo. So Kudo.
So I just drop it?
You just drop it, yeah.
Okay, so Kudo Republic and Kugo.
Mm-hmm.
Tatarstan and Kugo.
And Kugu, yeah.
Kugo.
Yeah, so Kudo, what Sandra and I use Kudo is correct and fine. In the exercise key, it's Mogai. The difference between these two is that Mogai is like which one, without any like pre-delimitation, but Kudo is really like which one of them. Like if we already had like a set of 3 and you want to say which one of them. So like Sandra's one makes sense here when we already are dealing with 3. Okay, then let's get to point 7. Ooh, riddle time. Or I'm not sure if we want to call it riddle. It's just like we're asking about animals. And we start with Reka.
Okay. Wait. Kan pılışıcı kuzu, poço, küçük. So who has long ears and a short tail?
Yep.
I guess that's the bunny.
And
Merang.
Very good. And then Luan.
Que tele goch malen kia so who is sleeping during winter. And the answer is Maska.
Very good. And then Sonia.
Ko chevem kochkash yerata. So it's like who loves to eat, and I'm not quite sure what chev is.
Chiva is
chicken.
Chicken.
Yeah, that will be I would say either wolf or fox. And fox is
Rövish, very good. I would have given you extra points if you had said his response something like Ivan or so. Yeah. Okay, then Valentina.
Okay, ke talilan bukshin poga. So who collects nuts for the winter? I guess that's Ur.
Very
the
good.
Squirrel.
Very good. Then Kevin.
Que purtum orola pen.
Again, very nice, Mari.
Is it bean then?
It's P.
P. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, who protects the house? The dog. You do. You do still have this the nasal element in some derived forms, like there's pinege for like a puppy or so, but the normal word is P. And yeah, because you have like a nasal element in Hilmari and also in other Uralic languages, so the instinct is always there to have it there. Okay, then Sandra.
Que shudem kochkesta mejem pua. Who eats grass and gives wool? That would be Shorek.
Very good. Then Reka.
Ke William Sain Kuchesh Mushta. So who is good at catching mice? Paris?
Paris, yeah. Most Parises, not Boggies, she's not here right now, but her cat has made a habit of bringing in mice unharmed. And she thinks that the cat that she just wants to be friends, wants new friends. Okay, then Luan.
Wait a moment. Traktor kuchelt mo dech onchurch lande pashashte item lan kupashen so who it help the humans who wait to wait, this is to Gochard was like
okay.
use. I don't know.
Okay, let's do it element for element. So the first part was right. Who helped the humans? And then we have this whole thing. Traktor kuchelt mo. Kucheltash was to use, to utilize.
So before they used the tractor, in the land work.
And then we've got it all.
Okay. So the answer is Imya.
Imya. Yeah, very good. It could also be Ishak, the donkey, but we haven't had Ishak yet. But that's another nice one. Also a nice turkey clone. And then Sonia, the last one.
Shudem kuchkesh dashurem pua ushkel ikaza.
Yeah. Okay. So Rika is going to be right back, and we'll see when she is there. Okay, very good. So yeah, kaza is another underrepresented animal, one of several here. Okay, now we actually have some riddles, but I think, unless I'm mistaken, I'm trying to remember, I think we actually updated these together with Tanya Yefremova, a speaker of Mari, who's younger than me and has a bit more of a modern frame of reference. Let's see if my memory is correct and these riddles are actually manageable. And we'll start with Valentina.
Okay. Çadiraște coșteș, mușcotarem chicaleș, teleșueș, malaș vozeș. So I think that's the bear. So Masca. And what is the bear doing? He's remaining in the forest. He is, I guess he's trying to catch or eat from the beehive. And
almost, these are two words there. It's very similar and easy to confuse, but ktᴵᴵ is to search.
He's searching for the beehive, and they are like sleeping in winter. Yeah. So literally it is winter comes and it lies down to sleep. I see, because Shuash didn't make sense to me, but yeah, it's two different sentences. Okay.
Winter arrives. Very good. Then Kevin.
Kuju puyan sur mejan yalvokten kostesh shorkum chalesh. So long-toothed, gray hair, gray furred. It goes into the village.
It goes like beside the village or so.
Oh, okay, it goes beside the village and it looks for sheep.
Yeah.
And this has got to be a pierre, a wolf.
Very good. Then Sandra.
Kengerem sur telem osho. In the winter it's gray. In the summer it's gray. In the winter it's white. I would say mirang.
Very good. Very good. Yes. And I'm not sure if Reka is back yet.
Yes, I'm here. So,
okay, very good.
Okay, I can do it. Kapshe izi pochoku chodrestela pukshimurata. So his body is small, the tail is long. It lives in the forest and it likes nuts. And going by the nuts is the squirrel, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it is. And Luan gets the last one.
Imem shuko normal kostesh organ okmosto. It carries a lot of needles. It can't sew.
Yep.
So it's
very good. Okay, so and the next one is just rearranging letters to get an animal. Everybody gets one. So Sonia.
So again, revesh.
Revesh, yeah.
Revesh.
The fox. Then Valentina.
Sesna, pig.
Yeah. Then Kevin.
Rus is a cat.
Yeah. Then Sandra.
Kolja, the mouse.
Yeah. Then Reka.
Maska, the bear.
And Luan.
Shadow, elk.
Yep. Very good. Okay, so Kamas, very nice. Yeah, and Tele Shuesh does sound like Game of Thrones. Winter is coming. Yep. Okay, so now we're coming to the last part of today's lesson and of this chapter. We've got a little clip from the news, and we'll first read it, and then we'll look at the recording. I mean, I'll end the recording before we look at the TV clip. Okay, here we've got here we are. And we'll start with Sonia. And let's do, everybody does one sentence again.
Okay. Shushash, ktᴵᴵ olase, kurtnya, I'm not quite sure if I get it. Kurtnya godno, vokzalište stanice, tagak tilo senan, uvertaremash, vlakom barla, darushla, junga darash, tegalut. I'm just wondering with shushash. So, is ktᴵᴵ somehow related to the verb search?
No, it's the noun
It's
keche.
like so it's the spatial meaning, like plural form.
Yes.
So like in the future days or in the days coming.
In the coming days, yeah.
In the coming days, then this yoshkar olase, it's like an adjective because of the ending.
Yes.
Yeah. So yoshkar olas, railway, in the waiting rooms of the railway station.
It's just at the railway station.
At the railway station, okay. I'm not quite sure about tagak.
So it's like, okay, like with a lot of these things, we're going to see that it's usually easier if you translate Mari into English to read backwards from the back.
Okay, so we'll be heard.
Yeah.
Russian and Mari. It's like the announcements.
Exactly.
And announcements in the Russian, in Mari and Russian.
Yeah. So it's like announcement, yes, but it's like uvertarash is a verb to announce. And Mari likes to, even if they nominalize a verb, keep the argument structure. So even if it's a nominalization, it might still have an accusative object. So the announcement of what? Of stantium.
Okay, so like the names of the stations, kind of like so the names of the stations will be announced in Mari and Russian.
Yes. And it is stantium, stations, and in Tagak, and also, basically. And also, Türlü sönen uvertaremash flakem. Oh, sorry, I lied. It's not because of uvertarash that we have the accusative. It's because yongaltarash, like to be played, is accusative.
Okay.
So it's like they will play Türlü sönen uvertaremash flakem, like different kinds of announcements. And then also stantium, stations. Okay, but was it content-wise more or less clear? After, yeah.
After your help, but without your help, it would be very unclear. Thank you.
Yeah, but yeah, we need to get used to the way that Maris actually write things when they're not writing for us, when they're writing for themselves. Okay, then Valentina gets maybe if it's not too much, this whole thing.
Since half of it is in Russian, that's actually great
yes,
for me.
That was my thinking.
Shall I read the Russian part as
yes.
well? Okay, so внимание, пригородный поезд с сообщением Йошкар-Ола Казань через 5 минут отправляется с первого пути. Tukto Liza, Йошкар-Ола Озянг поезд вич минут гич и кимше корно дене тарвана. Шиклани зада Tutko Lisa. Okay, so that's going to be very challenging for me. So it's like be careful, be like regional a regional train from Yozhkar-Ola to Kazan is going to leave from platform 1 in 5 minutes, and Sheklaniza, I guess, is it like stand away from the from the rail, like, yes, stand back and be careful.
Yeah, that's roughly like to take notice, to be careful. So like it's kind of, I don't exactly know why they say Shiklanazeda Tutkülisa, because for me they both are very similar, but yeah, but I mean it is a bit like pleonastic, repeating itself with the Tutkülisa, that it's in there twice, and it's not a literal translation of what's in Russian, but yeah. Okay, so then Kelvin.
The guy sanan rolikam chelaje cum lanare vozamo. So that's sort of, rolik, is that like a roll?
Yeah, like a clip or so.
Oh, okay. So that that sort of clip or recording perhaps is written
like Vozash, it's right, but it's also record.
So. It's recorded all together. And then 30 of something.
About. Nare is about. Like roughly, circa.
Oh, so about 30 of that, about 30 clips like that in all are recorded.
That was exactly right. Yep. Then Sandra gets the, oh God. Ah, no, not yet. Sandra gets to gets the next sentence. It's Reka who gets all the names.
Could you do me a favor and put the cursor at the end of the sentence so I don't miss it?
Yeah, sorry. I'll one moment. Here we go.
Okay, thank you very much. Rushla nonam la kokimsho region telo kompani da puls radion pashajenje vlak da pashajenje vlak ar mara shketan lumesh Mari drame teatrin artistische vlak jüngal tarat.
Yeah.
Okay. Jüngal tarat. Could you help me with that?
Yeah. Here, to perform, to play a song, but here it can also be like to record or so, I guess, in this context.
So Mari drama theater actors record the actors of the Mari Shketan drama theater.
Very good.
Record them in Mari. And then okay, Pashayan Vlak. And in Russian they are recorded by workers of the of Pulse Radio and the telecommunications company 12th region.
Yeah, so the 12th region, this is like in so the administrative units of Russia are numbered through, and Mari like, was it just Mariel that is 12? It's not, I hope it's not like the largest subunit, but in any case, then that's then also like the what's, you have it on the license plates, and because the license plate, they don't write out what the region is, they just have a number, and you know that then 12 is Mariel, and then the TV company also has a 12, and that's then also on the logo. You'll see it in the video then. Yeah, and so yeah, and it was in the text, it was in Russian, they're recorded by but in Mari, then yes. And about this ktᴵᴵ Mari Drama Theater, I'm not sure, I think we've already discussed this, but this is again a Russian formula that you'll have like organizations or institutions that are then carrying somebody's name and it's made explicit. It's like the Moscow Metro in the name of V.E. Lenin, or also if you're familiar with the Chernobyl disaster, like the Chernobyl nuclear power plant was also the nuclear power plant in the name of V.E. Lenin. Okay.
But could you also use le man in this context or not?
That's a very good question. It doesn't strike me as wrong, but I think like if it's lumesh, it's more clear that it is in the honor of something and not like carrying the name of someone. Yeah, but in any case, now Reka gets a bunch of names.
Okay, so Tide Svetlana Stroganova, Pavel Efimov, Paul Garifulin, Damari Radion Vudische, Natasha Pushkina. So these are Svetlana Stroganova and so the names, the moderator of the Maria Radio, Natasha Pushkina.
Yeah, and those of you who have seen my radio interview from 2008, where I was asked about my marital status and if I want to take a Mari girl home with me, that was Natasha Pushkina. So recurring characters. We've also had her in a musical clip at some point. Yeah, then Luan.
Voxaliște uvetare mașem malar ludmon again shonimash imashtak shochin so the like idea of what to like wait, so that the on the train station with I can't figure out how to exactly translate Ludmo.
Okay,
it's like about the reading or
exactly. So it's this whole thing is one noun
I got
phrase.
it.
Yeah. So it's like
it's more the words that are the problem than like I understand the sentence, like this whole idea about that the like whatever in the train station the should be read like
no, it's just reading, like the thought about reading.
About reading the forgot the announcements in the train station in Mari was like born last year.
Yeah, exactly. So I saw in the chat if she was with Elvira Tokasheva. Yes, there was a dual act of Natasha Pushkina and Elvira Tokasheva. And to keep up the theme of recurring characters, now is an interview with the guy who was responsible for the technical implementation. This is Andrei Chemyshev, who is the father of Natasha Pushkina's child. And this is really nice because Andrei is like a sort of a modern speaker, I would say, that he does not have the same like philological drilling that all the people who speak pretty have, but he's unambiguously a Mari native speaker. And the way he speaks, it's I know that it's always problematic to talk about what's authentic and original or whatnot, but this is sort of like a very typical modern speaker that we encounter. And you will encounter that there are some differences in the syntax also. And we'll start with Sonia.
Imashte the guys rashim vozenet moskoshko molanish karolaste uverdarem ashvak uke olot Maria Madene. So last year there was such a letter written to Moscow. So I suppose it was like written and sent to Moscow. Why in Yeshkar Ola there are no announcements in Mari language. I'm not quite sure about the function of dene in this sentence.
Yeah, so like dene with has a pretty wide range of usages, which we'll get back to and look at in detail in a later chapter. But it's like here I'd say like okay, so you can also, like, if you have a mathematics textbook, it's a Mathematik dene učebnik, like a textbook with mathematics. And I'd sort of put it somewhere in this direction. So there are announcements with Mari, so like Mari announcements. Yeah, so then Valentina gets the next one.
Ti da sërshëm koltenit nizhnishke, nizhni sërshëm kolten yoshkrolashke, ishtiza tigaim manim. Okay, can you help me with koltenash, koltenit?
Koltash is to send.
Okay, so then this letter was sent, is it like to Nizhny Novgorod?
Very good, yeah.
As well. Nizhny, and was it then sent also to Yoshkar Ola?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was sent to Nizhny Novgorod, to Yoshkar Ola. And here, I really don't get it. So, something about doing.
Yeah. So what form is ishtiza?
It's an imperative, right? So they should do something about it.
Yeah. So it's actually second plural. So hey, you do
something about it.
Yeah. Tigai. Do you know tigai?
No.
Okay, tigai, it's composed of the pronominal stem to, this, and gai, the postposition like. So tigai is like this.
Right, so to do something like this.
Yeah, do something like this with the accusative. And in manen, we'll discuss this in detail again. This is literally like saying, but it is often, this is a very typical, not even just the Turkic thing. You'll even have this into the Mongolic languages. That it often you have like a converb of saying to mark the content of a statement. So he's like, the letter that was sent from Nizhny to Yoshkar-Ola, a letter saying do something like this.
Something like this.
So that's just like quoting what is in the letter, basically. Yeah. So he's just like he's just illustrating sort of like the administrative procedures. You can't decide anything in Yoshkar-Ola, but somebody sent a letter to Moscow to complain about this, and in Moscow sent it to Nizhny, which is like the head of the administrative like greater subdivision, and they sent it to Yoshkar-Ola, like it went down the command change.
Because so that's why I was confused, because I was just wondering if they sent the letter to Moscow, then what does Nizhny Novgorod has to do with it? And I didn't realize that it first needs to go to Moscow, and then he needs to go from Moscow to Nizhny.
Yeah, because Nizhny is then the capital of the, I forget what I'm not good with Russian subdivisions, but
yeah, like this Nizhegorодskaya Oblast, but then
yeah, Reka says it's like a colon before quotations. Yeah, sort of with manen. It's like in Tatar dip or so, that whatever comes before it is like the content of something, of like a statement or also a thought or so. We'll get back to this in detail then. Okay, then Kelvin.
Nunen tagai uvertarash marla yeng vlakest uke. So they don't have people to communicate in Mari.
Yeah, or to record them in Mari.
Oh, okay, yeah. And Shonash is posing a problem.
Yeah, so shonash is think, and here it could be like also decide. I think like we thought to blah blah blah.
We thought to help them.
Yeah, exactly. But what is interesting here is that this is here we see the simple past tense to still as separate words, because I mean in the standard language we learned this as shonen na, like second past tense, but here he still has the to be verb as a separate thing, shonen ulana, like we thinking are. And this is something that it's like where you actually have more variation, and the grammaticalization is less for the progressed in a lot of the spoken varieties than it is in the standard language. Okay, then Sandra.
Mariel radio da Mariel TV. Estas nunelan vozen jamdelash chila uver vlakem rushla da marla.
Yeah, so this is like as an interview, he's just speaking naturally. It's not as grammatically clean and refined as a written text.
Yeah, because I do not see a like definitive verb.
Yeah, a finite verb.
A finite, yeah. Thanks. Okay, so let's to them.
Like it could be like it's still like we decided to do, and then we have infinitives. And okay. What did we decide to do?
We just. I'm not sure how to understand the ishtash nunelan.
Yeah, so Mariel Radio and Mariel TV decided, I guess, to do for them.
Decided to do for them. Yeah, writing. Jamdelash. Jesus. To fertigen. Oh boy.
Yeah, prepare.
Prepare. Thank you. All the news in Russian and Mari.
Yeah. So here with Vosasha, I would more understand it as to record again. So to record and prepare, and ouvert, it's like it's news, but it also can be just like message, and he just means the announcements, the clips.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, and then Reka still gets the last sentence.
Okay, let me try it. I'm not sure about the end of it. What? Sayle kunam Yoshkarola Moskva poziste Marii Murovlak Yongash Tüngaliteshe. So the beginning is like the idea is like this.
So there is an idea.
Okay, so there's an idea like this or something like that. It would be good when in the train from Ryazhkala to Moscow, even more Mari songs would be heard, or something like that.
I think it's more like
I don't really compute my Muro here, so like what they mean by it.
No, literally songs. Like it would be good if there would still like as an additional thing, like he's dreaming onward, what one could still do, that one on the train from Yoshkaola to Moscow would hear, if there will be hearing, like in future, if there will be to be heard, Mari songs. And this is to be understood that since this is a night train, there always are songs blasting through the train to wake people up as you approach Yoshkaola. And they are till now, they are Russian songs, but he's dreaming that they could be like the Mari pop song that you're approaching Yoshkaola and SMS Salam starts blasting through the speakers. Yeah, this was his dream. Okay, I think we're through with the recording. I mean, with the reading. Anyone watching the recording later on, you can then proceed to listen to the clip. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording. One moment.